Welcome to Hot Springs Village Inside Out, a weekly podcast where Hot Springs Village, Arkansas is the star. Join me, Randy Cantrell, and my co-host Dennis Simpson as we discuss the history, facts, people, places, events, lots more surrounding Hot Springs Village, Arkansas. Visit the website at hotspringsvillageinsideout.com. Welcome back. Another episode of Hot Springs Village Inside Out. hsvinsideout.com. That's the easy way to get there. You can go the long way. hotspringsvillageinsideout.com. That's the website. My name's Randy Cantrell. I'm the, right now I'm the outside, I guess. He's Mr. Inside. He is the one, the only Dennis Simpson.
From Hot Springs Village, Arkansas. And we're in the beautiful time of year. We woke up this morning. Lake was pristinely flat, mirror finish, and just the kind of that Mediterranean type look, you know.
Now, how big is this lake? So the people that aren't familiar with the village, so this lake behind you is these
210 acres.
Third largest?
No.
Second largest? Fourth largest?
Fourth largest, probably, yeah.
Okay.
But like we've mentioned before, the magic here is that we have a marina, and Balboa is the only other lake that has a marina. And there are other lakes that are relatively this size. There's a couple on the east end that are close to this size, but unless you like lugging gasoline down to your boat, it can be kind of a pain in the butt.
Yeah, well, I'm not a boat owner and never have been, but I wouldn't want to do that. I am lazy, so I wouldn't want to do that.
That's the overarching story. Randy's lazy and doesn't want to. Well, you know, it doesn't even matter if you're lazy. For example, if you're a vigorous person and you want to build on or have a home on the north side of Lake Coronado, which is beautiful. I think it's like 600 or 700 acres. Man, it's 70 and 80 steps down to the water to carry your gasoline.
Yeah. Forget that. Okay. Before we move on to the main topic, which is kind of the seasons in the village, because we're approaching fall or autumn or whatever, but real quick. So water or motorized water sports are not allowed on just any of the lakes.
Actually, Lake Lago doesn't.
Or did I not word that properly?
Yeah. Well, and in here, let's be more specific.
In other words, skiing or any of that kind of stuff can be done.
Yeah, you can ski here. We've had a lot of questions about
but you can't do that on all the lakes.
No. Some of them are too small. But for example, jet skis have been a real push of late. And I think what's happened, I think it's kind of a generational thing. I think that people that, you know, your age and mine, that, you know, well, let's have a jet ski or younger, of course. Yep. And the older generation, I had a lady tell me one time in a computer club meeting, she said, "Do you see how they run those things?" I was like, "No, we don't allow it. I don't I don't see how we do it." Right. So I think that may be another one of the things that we're going to entertain. By the way, two interesting topics coming up. We do have an archery range now. That's been a big push for quite a while. And I think I hear rumors. I can't confirm nor deny, but I think we're going to have a garden plot center pretty soon where you could, you know, kind of grow your own veggies or, have a common area to do that. Yeah. I hope we can do that because I got news for you. The ground here, more suited for pine trees than it is for fruits and vegetables.
I didn't think about that. Well, I just think about the critters, and I think about how in the world would you protect the thing from the critters?
There's a guy just down on Owensville that has I think it's an 8-foot tall security fence all the way around his sunflower seeds, his potatoes, everything. Because you're right, the critters are kind of overrun you.
All right, we want to talk about we're winding down summer, and next comes fall. And for those of us that aren't inside the village, because I know when we first stayed at your place, one of the first things we asked you was, "How bad are the winters here?" So seasonality. I'm very curious about seasonality, but I don't know. Kick us off about autumn and fall for folks that just come in the summer months and may not have even visited the place.
Well, I want to talk about that. I want to talk about the National Forest, just literally over the hill here, 1.7 million acres of National Forest. And the National Forest has an interesting criteria or an interesting objective. And that is they're supposed to serve the public with the public lands. And by that, well, yeah, some of it's logged and some of it's managed and some of it's just nature and some of it's just, pristine. And by that, one of the beautiful parts is that just as you go out Highway 7 and turn north, there's a few little patches you'll drive past that are just pine plantations. It's a pine forest. That's all it is. And it's plantation pine. They're all the same height, all the same size. Doesn't yield to a lot of diversity. Let's put it this way. You're not going to run into a lot of deer on the road there because there's nothing for them to eat beside pine needles.
Yep.
And if your deer are eating pine needles, they're desperate. It's between that and starvation. So as you'll see, you've seen my pictures behind me all the way. This is a very mixed hill. We'll have hickories that turn a beautiful red and orange. We'll have gums that go wild, crazy yellow and red. And then at the same time, we'll have the evergreens that stay. So it's a beautiful quilt patchwork. Now, as you go to the east end back on this side, there is a lot of plantation pine, in particular, just past the Remax office in Ponce as you go back out that way. Probably the last sixth of the village is kind of pine plantation. Now they're mixing it up a little, but that's how it was planted. It was even harvested. So it's clear cut,
Right.
But in this area, the falls are just dynamite. Now, you ask about what's winter, and the bottom line in Arkansas, with apologies to Brad Beaumont, we're going to come back to you in a minute, Brad, but with apologies to Brad Beaumont, the winters are gray and rain. That's it. Now, that's not gray the whole time. We're not talking Seattle.
Yeah.
But Brad Beaumont moved everything he had and his family from California, moved from there, sold everything,
now
moved here.
Let's explain who Brad Beaumont is.
Brad Beaumont is a recent Californian who invaded Arkansas, we joke about. He has a fascinating story. We're going to have him on soon. I met him the other day, finally personally met him. But he saw me online and we were talking about some stuff. He was on a forum called Leaving California. Now, why would you be on a format? Let's let that speak for itself, shall we? He said he was sick up with the politics. The prices were astronomical. The people were crazy. They were rude. He said he came to Arkansas on my recommendation of all things, Randall. And he said he came and he found these incredibly nice people. And he's a security guy, and high security, great safety. He bought one home, and then he bought another home, and then he bought another home, and then he bought another home. So you might say he's all in.
Yeah.
And hasn't been here a year. So he said, what are the winters like? And I said, it hardly ever snows. We have 14 inches the second week of February this last year. And I got a call from Brad Beaumont going, what the heck? You said. I'm like, easy there, Brad.
It's an outlier.
Wasn't any promises.
It's an outlier. Well, hey, in Dallas Fort Worth, we had that big freeze. So I think the whole country suffered something. So there are outliers there. But go back to the fall. So we're talking, it's going to be similar to how it is here in Dallas Fort Worth, 80, 90 degrees hot in the summer. And that's typically going to break when? We
had the Billy Graham Crusade the third week of September about 25 years ago. And the reason they picked that week is because they knew that was kind of the breakover week where it was just beginning to see a little color. And also it was always dry and the temperature, it had broken, and it was only 92 every night, that show. But I know because I was involved in that. But anyway, I say that let's go to the War Memorial Amphitheater, the War Memorial Football Stadium, and sit in 92-degree blazing sun heat. Yeah. But yeah. All that said, typically it does break about the third or fourth week. And then October is just really nice. I mean, really, really nice. Yeah. And because you can see the pictures around me, we have pines, we have oaks, we have hickories, just even on our side. And there will be a lot of leaves and they will fall for quite a while. But generally by the second or third week of November, probably third week of November, we've typically lost them. Yeah, they're already have fallen. I can't remember ever having a snow on Thanksgiving ever. Not at all. But Thanksgiving, maybe if it's bad weather on Thanksgiving, it's a little cloudy, it's a little rainy. I tell you what, and this is one of the things Brad asked, and I should have, Mr. Beaumont, but I should have brought that up. He said, how much does it rain? Now, this is a guy coming from Southern California, right?
We're never.
And exactly. And I said, well, between 65 and 75 inches a year. And he messaged back and he said, does the sun ever shine? I'm like, well, of course, shines all the time, but when it rains, it rains.
Yeah.
So, but it's a forested area. That's what we do.
Yeah.
But just outside of this area, and we were talking just a minute ago about fall. Eureka Springs, which is in the far northeast corner of Arkansas, Fayetteville, Springdale, Rogers, that whole thing. They actually, Randy, they have a train, an old timey train that runs from Fort Smith up to Rogers and Bentonville and comes back down and goes up through the foliage areas. And it's because it's on a railroad track that was built 150 years ago. It's nowhere close to the highway. You're going through people's backyards. It's fantastic. So that's a great thing to do in the fall. And it's just, to me, I love the beautiful summer, and I even love winter. But basically, fall is my number one and spring is my second, because it's just so glorious. The days, literally it feels Mediterranean. It's that.
So we're talking late September, early October. And then by the time you get to Thanksgiving, fall's done.
Yeah, and
now we're into winter, and the rain is going to kind of kick in. Typically, we're talking in horrible generalities here because, well, we need to, but rain's going to kind of kick in about that same time.
Yeah, usually, and honestly, we're hoping for rain probably the second or third or even the first week of October, so that the fall lasts longer.
Yeah. Well, the colors,
trees.
The rain and the sugar content in the trees, it's all about the water, man.
Yeah. They're interrelated. But where I would go with that also is that the fall is beautiful that time. But in winter, and this is what I was telling Brad Beaumont, is that we rarely, if it gets down to 20 degrees, man, that's cold. That's really, really cold for us. That's so rare, so rare. So our winters nearly, I'd say up through February, which is our coldest month. But our winters typically are highs of 40s and 50s. You see the deck behind me? Well, the floor in here, we were out on the deck remodeling in December, and you had a jacket on or whatever, but you cut a piece of wood, come inside and whatever. And if you left the door open, it wasn't a crisis. But
so ice and snow are the outliers.
Ice and snow are the outliers by far and away. And when the last time we had a 14-inch snow like that would be 9 years ago. And then before that would have been about 12 years. So every decade we have a big snow. And people are like, wow, when it snows, you just stay home. And I'm like, yeah, but it happens so rarely. Now, that said, we're sitting right here at this elevation, about 875 feet elevation. And they call Hot Springs. This is not Hot Springs. This is Hot Springs Village. And they call Hot Springs the Valley of the Vapors. And there's a reason they call it that, is because it gets down to about 350 feet of elevation. From here, I leave my house and go literally a half mile up to another property we have that's up on top of a hill on Valina. Looks out over the national forest. I swear it looks like Gatlinburg. It's stunning, stunning over the national forest. I left here and went over to one of those lots. It was a kind of a cool, drizzly day. It wasn't a big deal. I went up as I was crossing probably about a little bit more than a third of a mile, maybe a quarter of more than a third. As I started going up the hill, I got ready to turn around because everything was iced over. Everything was iced over. And it's literally as if you drove past a thermocline. And I was like, well, it's maybe 40 or 42 here. And I'm driving up another, I guess that is 1,300. So it's another 500 feet or so, give or take. And I probably went up another 200 or 300 feet of elevation, and it was literally frozen over. The roads were frozen over. All the trees were just glistening with ice. Beautiful. Just turn around and drive back home.
Yeah. And we've been there. I don't remember when, but there can be some pretty serious fog that can settle in. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
If you're stationary.
Dangerous.
If you're not driving in it. And I'm assuming that seems to me that was a winter-ish kind of a thing.
It's a winter-ish thing, but that's probably a sleeting or a snow event, something like that, and fog are just about the same, because we rarely get, we will get fog. But I mean, the kind of fog you're talking about, it stayed for several hours.
Yeah.
Most times when we have fog, it
burns off.
Yeah. It burns off in a couple of hours. It's gone.
So then we've got winter, and spring is going to kick in March.
That's actually kind of the beauty. And I don't think I suffer from SADS or anything, but I know I need my vitamin D and my sunshine.
Yep.
And come the second or third week of February, I'm like, a little sunshine will be good. And I will tell you this sounds silly. One of the signs of spring, see the robin, that's the sign of spring. No. When the Oaklawn races start, that's the sign of spring. It's not many days from now. The ponies are running, and seriously, if the ponies are running, it ain't that cold. They're not going to get $500,000.
And that's going to happen. And that's going to happen when?
Probably 15th, 20th of January is what they've been doing. Yeah.
Okay.
They've been doing that for probably 50 years.
So that early. We'll see. I'm not a horse or a gambling guy, so I didn't know. But that seems early.
It really does for me too. But I also, when I look at that, excuse me, I know that the beginning of the season is like the 15th of January or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, the end of it's going to come 15th of April, 1st of May, something like that.
Right.
So it's going to go right through there, and you're like, okay, the spring is coming. And typically we're going to have things blooming. And like we talked about our Airbnbs, February is by far and away our slowest month. By March, we're booked back up again because everything's beginning to bud and bloom. And, it may get down to a 30 at the night, but it won't be for long. It'll be warming up.
February is going to be the coldest month, I'm assuming.
Absolutely.
And the hottest month?
Typically August. Yeah. And September is kind of a cooker too. I will say, let's come back to February just for a minute. People always kind of get hung up on the precipitation thing. One of the things when we do have a 14-inch snow, the reason we really get caught out is because that's so rare. If we have a snow this winter, typically it will snow on a Monday, and Wednesday we're back at work.
Yeah.
And having not done anything because it just warms back up. We stay at a semi-temporal area or whatever. We stay very close to that freezing range. So we warm up pretty quick.
Yeah.
So the weather doesn't stay very long.
During the winter thing here, of course, power was a big deal. And I'm wondering, do you get questions, people asking about, because you can see on social media and stuff, you can see people talk about power outages at various times. How problematic is that during various times of the year?
I'm really glad you brought that up. I didn't know, and I still don't know that I fully understand why Mr. Cooper decided that he was going to put all the electricity underground. He just wasn't a big fan of big power poles, and I understand. So the cables underground, the power, telephone, everything. And so if we have an outage, it's at the substation or it's at the provider. I've been here 9 years. We've had 3 power outages that were more than an hour, maybe.
Yeah.
Never more than.
Yeah. Well, we have more than that here during tornado and thunderstorm season.
Yeah. And it's just so rare because, there's big power substations in the village.
Yeah.
And if one of those takes a hit or something like that. Yeah.
Sure.
But the good news is that the power workers don't have to go and try and fix 3,000 houses. They go and change a fuse or a transformer and move it over. And we're back in business. So that's the real beauty of it. The eastern end of the village, which is Entergy, has really had a problem there. And the reason I say that for them is because, and they don't even know this, I don't believe, there's been so much growth in that area.
Yeah.
That whereas this grew up over 40 years, 30 years, and 40 years.
Faster growth.
10 and 15. And they're just trying to grapple with the speed and keeping up with the load. So outages are more common over on that side. You brought up the T word. We might as well talk about it. Been coming here 20 years. We've had 1 tornado in the area. I had a lady one time, Modine Sproul, a shout out to Modine, who's a veteran realtor with Cooper and now with Remax. Wonderful lady, sweet as she can be. And Modine said she had a gentleman from the Weather Service come and look at properties in the village one time. And you're welcome to look over my shoulder or any of these. And at every point, when you would look at the trees, the guy from the Weather Service would say, well, y'all don't have tornadoes here. And Modine was like, well, no, not really. But why do you bring that up? And he said, the tops of all your trees they're perfectly intact. Yeah. I had no idea. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Good point.
Yeah. And, you know, never occurred to me in any way possible that was be the deal, you know, so anyway.
Yeah. Well, I would say, as somebody that visits as often as I can, any time of the year is a great time to come and visit. There's the beauty is year round. It's different. It's different, but it's absolutely year round. So that's my shout out.
And here's the thing, just the quick thing. If you love rolling hills, if you love water, if you love greenery, if you love nature, if you have to be away from it all, we're your place. If you're not, hey, the city's for you. And that episode will air shortly.
Yeah, well, or it may have already aired. Who knows? Aired. Who knows? We're just shooting from the hip. Hey, we appreciate you listening. We appreciate you watching. Again, the website is hsvinsideout.com. I'll encourage you to join the Facebook group. There's a Facebook icon at our website. Click that, and you're automatically in. So I'll let you say goodbye to everybody.
Well, I tell you what, once again, as Randy said, please visit us, HSV Inside Out, Hot Springs Village Inside Out, or on the Facebook page, which probably is dangerously close to 1,000, just like the YouTube page that is dangerously close to 100 at this point.
We got it. We busted it.
Hot dog.
101.
That's a milestone for us being in this 80 to 90 days kind of thing. So we really appreciate y'all listening. For Dennis Simpson, Hot Springs Village Inside Out, and
Randy Cantrell,
thanks for joining us.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Hot Springs Village Inside Out, a podcast where Hot Springs Village, Arkansas is the star. Please subscribe to the podcast. You can do that by visiting our website, hsvinsideout.com, and tell a friend.